Let me bring in Juanita Broderick. Juanita, I really want you to take us through your time as with Bill Clinton and everything that happened then, but I noticed you were really getting fired up when you're watching some of these sound bites. What did you see here? What were you watching the Democrats do here?
I saw the Democrats take these allegations, listening to a woman tell a story with no corroboration whatsoever. The same ones, Senator Schumer, Senator Feinstein, Senator Durbin, who back in 1999 completely refused to read my deposition with the independent counsel. Henry Hyde said, just please read her deposition. We're not going to bring this woman in to the hearing, but you need to know that you may have a rapist in the president's office. This may be possible. Not one Democrat would read my deposition about the horrific event that I went through and when Bill Clinton raped me. It was awful.
So these Democrats that you point out, Durbin, Schumer, and Feinstein,
right.
Feinstein, a woman, ignored your pleas for help, ignored your pleas to at least be heard, and yet now they're behind Blasey Ford saying every woman, every victim needs their moment, but they weren't feeling that way when it was Bill Clinton as president.
Oh, absolutely not. And all that the committee wanted them to do, the Democrats, especially these three, all the Democrats wanted them to do was just read it and then decide. They couldn't, there's no way that they could even decide because they would have nothing to do with it.
All right, and you call it, I think you called it at one point a double standard on their part.
Absolutely.
At best.
Oh, absolutely.
At worst, total hypocrisy.
Yes.
All right, I shouldn't put words in your mouth.
No, that's true. Thank you.
So, can I ask you, let's go back, if you don't mind. We'll get back to the hearing and what's going on today. But can I ask you to go back to your issue, your time? I believe it was 1978?
1978, yes.
1978, and what happened? Tell us what happened. Tell us what the AG of Arkansas at the time running for governor do to you.
Okay. I was working, I was a registered nurse and I owned nursing homes. Bill Clinton came to my nursing home because I was a volunteer in his gubernatorial campaign. And so while he was there, he began they took this picture that you see right there. And after this picture was taken, he comes over to me and he's just so nice and, you know, he's just so engaging. And I thought, a little light bulb went off. I thought, man, this is the time I need to tell him before he becomes governor about the horrible conditions we are in nursing homes with the reimbursement rate being so low. And he clicked right on that. And he said, are you ever in Little Rock? And I said, yeah, in fact, I'll be there in 3 weeks. And he said, well, call my office and let's get together and talk about this. And listen, Eric, I was excited. I went home and worked on graphs showing the cost versus what we were actually being reimbursed. And I thought he was really serious about helping the situation that we were in. I get to Little Rock 3 weeks later with my registered nurse and director of nursing.
So you bring 2 people with you?
No, just one.
Just one. Okay.
Just one. Yeah. She was my director of nursing. We check into the Camelot Hotel, that's what it was called back then, on April the 24th, 1978. We wake up on the next morning, on the 25th of April, 1978. We call his office about 8 o'clock in the morning, and the girl there says, well, he's not here. Call this number, which I called. Bill Clinton answers the phone and said, well, hi, how are you doing? I said, fine. I said, we have an hour off for lunch. Can we come over to your office then and show you all the things that I brought for you to see about the nursing homes? And he said, you know, I'm not going to be there today. He said, why don't I just come to where you are now? Why don't I come to your hotel? He asked where I was. I told him, and he said, well, let's just meet down in the coffee shop. And I said, that's great, okay? He said, I'll call you when I get there. So I turned to Norma Rogers was her name, and I said, Norma, you go on. As soon as I finish in the coffee shop, I'll be right on to the seminar. Bill Clinton arrives, calls my hotel room, and says, it's so crowded down here, and there's reporters. He said, can we just talk about that information and have coffee in your room? I'm sure I felt a little uncomfortable. I'd never been alone in a hotel room with a man I didn't know before, but this was the Attorney General.
And soon to be likely governor.
Yeah, I didn't fear the man. He comes to my room. And this should have been a clear tip-off to me in the beginning. When he comes to the door and I go answer it, he's standing in a dim-lit hallway with sunglasses on. And I thought it was strange at the time, but I usher him on in the room, over to where I have the coffee and my stacks and files of information. I start to pour the coffee, and Bill Clinton says, "Come around here, I want to show you something." And it was a small building down on the Arkansas River that was an 1800 jailhouse. And he said, "When I'm governor, I'm going to restore that." Well, that was just an excuse to get me around this table, which was larger than this, to where he was standing, because that's when he grabbed me, he started kissing me, and I just said, "No, no way. I didn't let you come to my room for anything like that."
You made it very clear to him you were not interested.
Oh, I did. And then when he grabs me again and starts backing me up to the bed is when I start screaming. And when I start screaming is when he grabs me close to him and he starts biting on my top lip. I mean, hard. Scared me to death. And that's when he starts ripping at my clothing and forces me back on the bed, and he rapes me. And it was the most, you know, I can still see the room. I can see everything about it. And I can still feel the horror that I went through at that time in my life. It's devastating. It ends up in your DNA. But anyway, after the rape was over with, and I'm sitting up on the side of the bed, bellowing, I mean crying, gutturally crying.
Is he still here in your room at the time?
Oh my God, yes. I cried almost the whole time, whimpered when he was raping me and biting my lip.
I mean, after the incident, after the rape, did he stay or did he leave? What did he do?
No, he left. He left. He got up, put on his coat, straightened himself, looked at me real strange, puts on his sunglasses, and motions to me, "You better put some ice on that," and walks out the door, referring to my lip was swollen 3 times the normal size. It was bleeding, and there I sat.
Okay, so tell us then, did you mention to Norma Rogers what had happened when she got back?
I didn't show up for the meeting. Right. And listen, I forgot about her. I forgot about the meeting. I forgot about everything in life except what had just happened to me in that hotel room. And then a few minutes later, she comes to knocks on the door. When he left, I got up and locked that door because I thought, my God, I got to lock the door. I know somebody's going to come in to get rid of the body. That's how I felt. I felt useless. I felt like someone could just kill me and get it over with. She came to the door. I look through the peephole, and I see it's her. I open the door, and my God, I start crying all over again. And she does, too, when she sees me.
So you, at that point, tell her that Bill Clinton raped you?
Yes, exactly. I'm still in torn clothing. My lip is swelling, and she immediately goes and gets ice for it.
The reason why I ask you, and I ask you 2 and 3 times, is that Blasey Ford has said that Brett Kavanaugh assaulted her, not raped her, but sexually assaulted her. But she doesn't recall telling anyone for a long time, and now I understand that victims of these assaults feel that it's difficult to come forward. But you immediately told Norma Rogers.
Oh, yeah. What can you say to somebody that comes to the door and finds you in that kind of a condition? My skirt was completely torn off. My pantyhose were torn. I was bleeding. My mouth was swollen. My face was red from crying. But she's my close friend.
You're getting emotional right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You still feel it.
Oh, yeah. You don't. It becomes a part of your DNA. You do not forget it. Have you got a Kleenex?
We'll get you one. Our producers will get you one. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
So keep on. So now you tell Norma Rogers. Do you notify the police?
Oh, no. And so many people say that. Why didn't you call the police? He was the Attorney General. He was the police. There was no DNA and kits and everything like that back then. It just wasn't there. So she comes in, we sit down, we start putting ice on my mouth. All of this I told in the independent counsel too. We put ice on my mouth, and then we're sitting there, and she's consoling me, and she says, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to go home. I want to get as far away from here." So she packs up everything and drives us home. When we get home, we tell another one of my nurses, who is her sister. And then within the next 3 days, I tell my lifelong friend that I went to nurses training with back in the 60s. I tell the mother of my godchildren, and I also tell another lady that I went to nurses training with, and I also tell, and this is, people know this, at the time I was about to go through a divorce with my first husband. I was having an affair with another man. I told all this on NBC Dateline, and I told him. I can't, I mean, it's just, when people could see me for the next few days.
Did he at the time contact you, or any of his people get in touch with you and say, this happened, this didn't happen? Did anyone contact you from the Clinton administration, any of the administrations?
Bill Clinton called me.
He did? Okay, tell me what happened.
Okay. About the first week, he would call, and I would tell my assistant, Berta Young, she was my assistant administrator. I would tell her, I'd say, and this was hard because she didn't know. You know, this wasn't a real friend. She was an employee. And she would come to me and she'd say, "Bill Clinton wants you on the phone." And I would tell her, "Please tell him I'm not available." And it was hard to tell her, and because she was thinking, here's Bill Clinton. He's going to be the governor. Why don't you want to talk to him? And then he called again. But the third time, Berta was gone to the lunchroom. And I catch the phone while they're at lunch. And I answered the phone, and it's Bill Clinton. And he says, "Hi, this is Bill Clinton. When are you coming to Little Rock again?"
Wow.
And I hang up the phone. And
Wow.
I never heard from him again until 91 when he apologized.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because
Yeah.
Oh, so he apologized because you went public. Well, besides your friends, your close friends immediately, but you went public in '99.
Right.
Well, what happened in '91? I actually didn't hear about this. What
Okay.
happened in
In 91, I was down in Little Rock again with the same nurses, Norma Rogers and her sister, Jean Darden.
Okay.
They both still work for me. We were at a nursing home seminar. We'd been in there about 2 hours when a gentleman comes to the door, and he says, "Juanita Broderick is wanted in the hall." So I'm worried it's an emergency from home. I get up, go outside and of the room, and the man says, "Down there, go down around the corner." I go down around the corner by the elevator. As I go around the corner, the girls followed me out. I go down around the corner, and there stands Bill Clinton with two, looks like, Arkansas State policemen. And he comes over to me real quick, and he says, "I just had to tell you how sorry I am for what I did. And it's just so important that you understand that I'm a family man."
13 years prior, right? So the rape happened in '78?
Yeah.
Alleged rape. 91, 13 years later, he says, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, he says, "I'm sorry."
Was he worried about something? Why did he, what do you think inspired Bill Clinton to come forward
I don't
13
know.
years later?
It shocked me so much, I backed up and told him to go to hell, and I walked back to my friends, and I was crying by that time. And they said, "What did he want?" And I said, "He apologized." And there I am.
Had you talked about going public with it at the time?
No, had never. I just wanted it to all go away. Well, then 2 weeks later, he announced he was running for president. But what bothered me the most about that, Eric, is that he could reach, was he telling me he could just reach out and touch me anytime? That frightened me, that he knew exactly where I was at that time in my life, 13 years later, and could have somebody call me out of a meeting so he could talk to me.
Okay, so fast forward to he's president for 8 years. There were a lot of allegations, Monica Lewinsky, several Jennifer Flowers, etc. What made you finally go public in '99? I
didn't finally do it myself. I was outed by the Paula Jones suit.
Okay.
Angry. Two investigators, Rick and Beverly Lambert, show up on my front porch, and I believe it was in '98 sometime. And they're coming on my front porch, and I go out and talk to them. It's a man and a woman, so I didn't fear anything being out on the porch with them. And they start talking to me about Paula Jones' suit, and would I come forward? And stupid me, I had no idea they were recording me. And so I began to tell them, no, you forget about me. I'm not going back to that. It's too painful. So in so many words, I told them, not exactly, but they knew something had happened with me. So they left, and I thought, well, that's that. Then I get the subpoena from Paula Jones as Jane Doe number 5. And I go, my son's an attorney, and he said, Mom, you've got to go testify for this. I said, well, I'm not going to come forward. I'm not going to do it. And I didn't. I told him, no, nothing happened. Left that deposition with Paula Jones and thought, well, that's the end of that. Then here comes Ken Starr. My son comes to me, like I said, being the attorney, and he said, Mom, I need to talk to you about that.
Special prosecutor, special investigator, Ken Starr.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Very powerful.
Yes, and that's what my son said. He said, Mom, Paula Jones was civil. This is big. He said, you cannot lie anymore about this. I told him when he was a teenager. And he said, you can't do that anymore. And it was really hard for me to think about coming forward. And then my attorney said, well, he's going to grant you immunity if you'll go ahead and tell the truth, which is what I did. And I went into Ken Starr's group, told him what had happened. But Ken Starr wanted to know why I had lied in the Paula Jones suit. Was I bought off? Was I threatened? Was there anything that would go with obstruction of justice? There was none.
By the way, so people understand, the Ken Starr is basically the Robert Mueller type of investigation, only back then they were looking for some sort of, whether or not President Clinton was paying off people for hush money during these things, and it clear that that wasn't the case with you. You just wanted to know part of it, but you got caught up in the legal. It shed a lot of light on you. And I want to continue with this, but I have to stop and ask you this, because people say, when I say I have Juanita Broderick on tonight, they say, well, ask her, does she feel any sympathy for Christine Blasey Ford for people who don't believe that she was sexually assaulted by Brett Kavanaugh?
I feel sympathy because I think she thinks that something happened. I think in her mind, whether it did or not, I think she probably thinks something happened. I don't think it was Brett Kavanaugh. You know, this is such an honorable man.
Well, let me stop you there, and let's do this. Like I said, after there was a break, and then Brett Kavanaugh had his moment to state his case, his side of the case. And I remind you, a lot of people had long faces over in Capitol Hill going, uh-oh, is this going to be really bad for the GOP? And then Brett Kavanaugh had a few minutes. Let's start with the first shot. This is Brett Kavanaugh when he first came up to state his side of the case. Watch.
The day after the allegation appeared, I told this committee that I wanted a hearing as soon as possible to clear my name. I demanded a hearing for the very next day. Unfortunately, it took the committee 10 days to get to this hearing. In those 10 long days, as was predictable and as I predicted, my family and my name have been totally and permanently destroyed.
All right. That was the beginning. He got emotional in many places. There was tears in the office here. Here's one of those moments. Go.
I intend no ill will to Dr. Ford and her family. The other night, Ashley and my daughter Liza said their prayers. And little Liza, all of 10 years old, said to Ashley, we should pray for the woman. It's a lot of wisdom from a 10-year-old.
Your thoughts?
Oh, I cried too. I tell you what, I just think I think this is an honorable, wonderful man. That whether Christine Ford knows or not what really happened to her, she's almost destroyed.
So can I do this? And I just want to go back to Christine Ford. And listen, I agree with you. Maybe she was sexually molested. Who knows? Raped. Who knows? The problem I'm having is that she doesn't remember how she got to the house. She doesn't remember how she got home after she didn't tell anyone for years upon years. Do you remember how you got to meeting Bill Clinton?
Oh, exactly. We drove to Little Rock in my car.
And you know that the hotel was?
Yeah, it was the Camelot then, but it's something else now.
Do you remember the room, what it looked like?
Exactly. I mean, that.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, the room. It was as you come in. There's 2 double beds, and then over by the window, it was a round table similar like this with nice chairs on either side. And as you looked out the window, you looked down on the Arkansas River, the parking lot of the Camelot, and they had this old drawbridge, like a castle that you would drive through to get into the registration office.
At one point, Christine Blasey Ford was asked about there was music playing. She couldn't remember if it was high or low or went higher and lower. Do you remember anything else about that night?
No, it was the morning, 8:30 in the morning. I was having a meeting so I could go on to my seminar. 8:30 in the morning.
How'd you get home after the seminar? Oh, you missed the seminar. But
Yeah,
how'd you get home?
Miss Rogers drove me home in my car.
You remember that ride?
Oh my God, we stopped 3 times to get ice from my mouth.
And the point I'm trying to make is, listen, a man's credibility, his family is on the line, his reputation is on the line, maybe his freedom is on the line if some of the allegations were true. That's why I'm saying when Christine Blasey Ford says she doesn't remember something from in the 80s, 82 or so ballpark, but you remember vividly from
my
78, vividly. You're telling me memories, you're telling me things. Do you remember anything else about the room? Do you remember anything about the hotel? What was the lobby like?
When you go into the lobby, it was just a small lobby area. And we were up on, I would say, the 6th or 7th floor because we were high to look down on the river.
Okay.
And they even, NBC even found my registration 20 years later for that seminar.
Yeah, right. And people should not disbelieve that you were there.
Yeah.
And people should not disbelieve that Christine Blasey Ford was at that party. They can certainly want more evidence that it was actually Brett Kavanaugh who actually did what Christine Blasey Ford alleges happened to her, and that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, yeah. I'll never forget that day.
What are your thoughts on Bill Clinton right now? How do you feel about the guy?
My minister asked me that, said, can you forgive him? And I said, no, I'm sorry. I cannot. And other people say, well, if you forgive him, then you can go on with life. I've gone on with life. I've been successful. But this will never go away. And at this moment, I cannot forgive him.
Juanita Broderick, amazing story. Thank you for telling your side of the story.